Today's main dish for supper is a salad. I had a salad yesterday as well, and yesterday I had the chicken nuggets. Um, those just barely chicken nuggets on here. But today I'm having tuna and corn. The corn has been warmed up. The salad is delicious. It also has coleslaw mix in it, and a little ranch dressing. Oh my gosh, y'all. And other stuff is probably hiding under there to greet me and be a joyful part of my salad. So it's so good. Thank you, disembodied voice. Hey y'all, hey, it's your friend Patty with Giddy Things. I'm back here today for day 141 of our 5-minute in name only exercise encouragement. How are you? I'm doing well, thank you. I have on my Victory Red lipstick from Besame Cosmetics again. And yes, I have on a nightshirt. I have not gotten dressed today. I'm clean, but I have not gotten dressed today. And no makeup other than my lipstick. So we're really rocking the 1940s here, except with modern technology and more helpful medicines and vaccinations. So yeah, I did shift gears completely today on my workout, but y'all, it was 5 minutes, but it was intense. I'm going to link it in the description. I did a 5-minute workout with two, of course, one in each hand, of these 2-pound weights that I've had for quite some time. I am trying to build upper body strength. At this point, I'm giving my legs a little rest because if you watched yesterday, day 140 of our 5-minute in name only exercise encouragement video, then you know that I injured lefty. My poncho is my right knee and lefty is my left knee. Kind of self-explanatory. And I injured this one accidentally. Again, as I said yesterday, I had the unmitigated gall to try to stand up. What was I thinking? I've stood before, but apparently this time it was not on the books because I did not have a successful standing experience. So I recently, and I told people who have watched a lot of videos, my fam from the internet, my internet fam, my YouTube fam. So what could we call that? Our U fam? That sounds like an organization. I don't know what I want. We'll come up with that. Our Tubi fans. I like our Tubi fans. So our Tubi fans will know, or Tubi friends, not fans. I'm not a celebrity. So, and even then, I mean, they're just people, right? But I'm getting off topic again. So I told my Tubi friends, Tubi fam, that's what I was going to say, family, yesterday, that, yeah, about that. Not yesterday, but I'll get with it in a second, y'all, with a video kind of a bit in the past that I was ordering a new wheelchair, which arrived a few weeks ago, and I haven't really used it very much yet. But I tried it out yet. Well, I haven't used it at all until yesterday, because yesterday I was like, okay, note to self, use your wheelchair more often. So I am an ambulatory wheelchair user, but at home, and I'm not really going to use it so much at home because I have people and other assistive devices here to help me around the house. And so I am using it primarily for the going out part. Now, I think pretty soon the disembodied voice will start renovating the porch to create a ramp for me, which will be great. We're going to try to get our van back in order. I will still be driving Paolo, and I can totally get the wheelchair in the back of Paolo. That's kind of one of the things that I had in mind when I purchased him, my Honda CRV. He's a 2014, and he is beautiful and fabulous and fancy for me. A backup camera of all things. Oh my goodness. How she. I should put my finger up when I'm driving, but it's not safe. My little pinky finger, but it's not safe to do that. Well, maybe sometimes it is. Again, I'm getting distracted. So we have a 2008 Honda Odyssey van that I absolutely love, and it needs some work, and so we're going to get it fixed up. We figure it's going to take less money to get it back in running order than it would be to buy something new, and then we might get, or we will need to get a ramp from that for the wheelchair. I might end up getting a power chair eventually, but these are all things that I'll invest in as we move forward. This is totally expected. I am not sad. You know, one of the things that you can do when something like this is happening in life and you're otherwise well, which is an incredible blessing. Well, I don't have a glare very much, so I'm keeping my glasses on so I can actually look at the screen. But one of the things you can do when you have challenges, but they're totally solvable challenges, there are things that you can overcome, and that you are still blessed. I mean, you can be stressed, right? I mean, it is stressful to have an injury. It is stressful to deal with decreased mobility, but it's a choice to approach it with joy. And so instead of thinking, oh my gosh, my mobility's limited again, and it's probably going to stay this way, and I don't know, and been dealing with this my whole life and whatever, instead, I choose to focus. I even got sick of myself pretending to say those things. I choose to focus instead on the joy of the creativity of moving into a new phase of mobility and the curiosity that I get to satisfy about what it's like in that stage of mobility. I will tell you, when I first started using a wheelchair, and I will tell you, I'm going to link the workout I did in the description. I'll tell you about that in a second. I'm just having a really good time chatting with you. So when I first started using a wheelchair, I was real, and I used a wheelchair sort of in middle school some and in high school some, because I would have these periodic times when my joints would just not stay located. It's called subluxation is what some people call it, other things, but it's a lateral dislocation due to my hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, but also just the fact that my mom's knee joint was also just made differently. And when she was 62, my mother got knee replacements, but because I also have the HEDS, I am not a candidate with my HEDS. I'm not a candidate for joint replacements at this time. And who knows, I may never be, but who knows, right? Moving forward, they may figure out a way to do that. I hope they get the money they need to research this stuff. So anyway, I choose to approach this with like, what can I learn? And so when I first started using a wheelchair, when I was a kid, it wasn't such of a big deal. I sort of had to stay downstairs in middle school and do a lot of independent study because that building did not have there's a word for it, a lift, an elevator, right? I decided to go the British lift first and then elevator. So we didn't have an elevator. And so I took my lessons downstairs. And that was fine with me, to be honest, because I like independent learning. But then, in high school, periodically, as a kid, I wore braces, I was in physical therapy, sometimes I was in a wheelchair, just variable things. And now we're getting to a season of life where I'm probably going to be using my wheelchair a little bit more. I will unveil her name in a video when I introduce you to her, because her name came to me last night. I like to let it simmer, and I like to pretend that the assistive item or whatever it is, the vehicle, is telling me its name. And so I got her name yesterday, and I will unveil that when I introduce you to her. She and I are going to be good friends. It was such a good, I would like to say that all my research led to a good wheelchair purchase, and it did, I think. But it also is just God, filling in the gap for me, as he always does. So when I first, as an adult, really started using a wheelchair to travel, for example, like one time, oh my gosh, it was so difficult for the disembodied voice, for me, for the handy helper. The big brother wasn't with us at that time, but in Gatlinburg and just around, I won't even talk about Dollywood right now, but because Dollywood's phenomenal, and I have heard that, I haven't actually been, but more on that later. We're gonna go because I have heard that Dollywood is phenomenal for people with disabilities, just incredible. And of course it is, because it's our dear Dolly, Queen Dolly, right? So, but when we were in Gatlinburg using a wheelchair, oh my gosh, it was so rough because I couldn't wheel myself. There were bricked streets and stuff, so I needed someone to wheel me. It probably would have been better to have a power chair at that point, or a scooter, a rascal type thing. But the wheelchair was just, you want me to do that again? And the disembodied voice was pushing me. The handy helper was way too little at the time to push me. And he was pushing me, and we were trying to make it through. But one of the things I've told my family, my students, is that, it's interesting. You learn a lot about people from a wheelchair. You really do. And there are a variety of things that I actually am planning to make at this point, planning to make a long form video about those things, about the things that you learn from a wheelchair. And some of y'all probably have learned these things too, because you may have, if you don't use or not fully using a wheelchair all the time, which you may be, right? And, you know, are a powerful person, that you may have used one periodically, even for just wheeling back into something that's far back and you can't walk that far. People, just you learn a lot about people. More on that in another video. And you also learn a lot about yourself. So what I did today with these 2-pound weights is I'm doing, and I'm going to be doing this moving forward. I will be therapeutically moving my legs, but I won't be depending on that primarily as my exercise, I guess, even though it will be. I'm going to do upper body exercises to face the opportunity head on to use a wheelchair on a more regular basis and in a manual way. The one that I got, the Comfy Go that I got, is it's a mix between one that is more set up for independent use and one that is still for carer use, right? So that you can have someone push you in it, but it's also streamlined, a little tilted in at the seat just a little bit to make it more of an independent user wheelchair. And it's light. It's very light. And I'll pop it up on the screen and tell you more about it before I introduce you to her. It is a girl, just so you know. And yeah, so that's going to be pretty phenomenal to get more in shape. And I will tell you again, I alluded to this earlier in the video. These two weights, they're identical. Here they both are, right? Maybe I'll call them Hansel and Gretel. Wouldn't that be fun? I think that may be their names. So Hansel and Gretel. This is Gretel. So Gretel, how do I tell the difference? Because they're my weights, and I know, of course, silly goose. I'm just joking. Anyhow, I'm a silly goose. This was an upper body workout, 5 minutes only with these weights. But here was what made it difficult in a good way. I was able to complete it, and I felt so good about that. Here's what made it difficult, though, is once you start moving with this workout, again, linked in the description, I really liked it and was really grateful it was there. YouTube is so phenomenal. Once I did this, it was, once I started it, you're not resting, you're not taking any breaks. And so what this video does is 30 seconds at a time. And this young lady, the kind young lady, leads you through it, and they have a timer on the screen. It's so nice. Y'all, I'm sure some of y'all remember, maybe a lot of y'all remember back in the day when if you were finding anything like that, you had to pay for it. It was either a CD, DVD type situation. I had a Walk Away the Pounds, but I had a Richard Simmons cassette tape, and I didn't mind paying for it. And his prices, God rest his soul, were always really, really good, in my opinion, for what you got. But back in the Deal-A-Meal days, if you remember Deal-A-Meal, I might pop a Deal-A-Meal up on the screen. Wouldn't that be fun? Do you remember Deal-A-Meal? You had cards that had what your choices were on them, and then when you used those cards up for your various meals, you put them in the other side of the wallet. And even though it was not ever really successful for me, I think it's a really cool way to manage your eating and a really tactile way to do that. And for some people, I know it worked really, really well and probably continues to. So yes. So I did this workout and had the opportunity to do it for free. I subscribed to the channel because I was really impressed with it. And also I like to do that. If I think I'm going to use things in the future, even if I'm not going to use different videos or stuff, I can at least give a subscription to that channel. Yeah. And this is, oh, what a good time to talk about that. Thank you all, the 190 people who are subscribed to this community. Oh my gosh, we are family. I got all my Tubi fam with me. So, thank you so much for that. If you haven't subscribed, would you please? It helps a great deal. It makes me feel good. I feel good anyway. You probably noticed that, but it makes me feel even shinier and even brighter. And it also puts the videos into more people's algorithm. And that's helpful as well. So I would really appreciate if you would like, subscribe, and if you feel like it, comment, right? I love to hear from you, but I know everybody doesn't like to do that, or it may take a little while to do that. So any rate, I did that workout. I really enjoyed it. See if you like. Now, again, check with your doctor before you begin any kind of exercise adventure. And before you do anything specific, make sure it's safe for you to do, right? I try to consult with my doctor before I make any kinds of changes or do any new things. But even if you can't do it, just watch it to see what I'm talking about, because it's the fact that you're not putting your arms down really for 5 minutes and you have the weights in them that makes it, to be honest, it was at least as difficult at now as pedaling for 30 minutes. Now, when I first started pedaling for 5 minutes back in the day, darling Linda, you remember when we started that, it was hard, and it got easier and easier and easier over the 139 days as of yesterday. Well, minus a few for rest that I did with that. But this feels like that first 5 minutes to me, because I'm starting something new. And so 5 minutes here, I don't know how much. I'll probably get some variety in that and do some other things. I stretched out my arms afterwards, just, to try to, they're going to be sore, I can tell. But it was burning towards the end, but it didn't feel like I was injuring myself. Now, I can always kind of feel my joints being slippy, right? A little bit, but at no point during that workout for me, and this is just for me, it's not medical advice or exercise advice, but at no point did it feel like anything was going to dislocate. So that was good. It just, I could feel them being slippy and fancy like they are. Well, that was fun, y'all, and it was so good to talk to you again today. Please do know how loved you are. Oh my goodness, I love you so much. Please do go with me in peace and love to serve others. Ooh, very little lipstick transfer. And please do pray for the world with a special whispered prayer for Ukraine.